Welcome to the program. As we step into the second quarter of 2026, the landscape of the war in Ukraine has transformed from a fluid invasion into what many analysts now call the static century conflict. After 4 years of intense engagement, the front lines have hardened into a sophisticated network of fortifications stretching over 1,000 kilometers. We aren't just looking at a war of attrition anymore. We're looking at a total societal mobilization that has redefined Eastern European security. Today, we'll strip away the propaganda from both sides and look at the hard data, where the borders actually sit, the state of the Ukrainian economy, and the technological leaps that have turned the Donbass into a testing ground for 21st century warfare.
If 2024 was the year of the FPV drone, 2026 is the year of the autonomous swarm. The truth on the ground is that human movement within 10 miles of the zero line is virtually impossible without immediate detection. We are seeing upwards of 15,000 drone sorties every single day. AI-integrated targeting systems have reduced the kill chain, the time from spotting a target to striking it, to less than 90 seconds. This technological saturation has forced infantry underground into smart trenches equipped with signal jamming arrays. It's a paradox where the most advanced digital technology is being used to facilitate a style of warfare that looks increasingly like the trench battles of 1916, but with a terrifying precision.
Let's talk about the money, because that's where the real story lives. By 2026, Ukraine has pivoted to a permanent war economy. Nearly 40% of the national GDP is now funneled directly into defense and domestic arms production. Remarkably, despite the constant threat of long-range strikes, heavy industry in the west of the country has seen a 12% growth thanks to underground manufacturing hubs. This isn't just a nation fighting, it's a nation rebuilding while fighting. Foreign aid has shifted from emergency packages to long-term industrial partnerships. The truth is that Ukraine is becoming one of the largest arms exporters in Europe for battle-tested technology, even as it relies on international loans to keep the lights on. On the other side of the wire, Russia has transitioned into a state of normalized mobilization. In 2026, the Kremlin has successfully bypassed many Western sanctions through a complex shadow trade network involving over 50 intermediary nations. The Russian military-industrial complex is now turning out 3 million artillery shells annually, more than the combined output of the EU. However, this comes at a massive cost. Inflation in Russia has hit a sustained 18%, and the labor shortage is acute, with 1.5 million young professionals have fled or been conscripted. The truth of the Russian position is a massive blunt force military capability, masking a hollowing out domestic economy that is increasingly dependent on high energy prices to stay solvent.
We cannot discuss the truth of 2026 without mentioning the human cost. There are currently 7 million internally displaced persons within Ukraine, and 5 million refugees remain abroad with no immediate plans to return. The demographic shift is staggering. Entire cities in the east have been depopulated, while western hubs like Lviv have seen their populations double, leading to a massive housing crisis. Yet there's a surprising resilience. 85% of Ukrainian schools now operate in hybrid formats with sophisticated bunkers. The truth is that a generation of children is growing up in a world where air raid sirens are as normal as school bells. The social fabric is holding, but the psychological toll of 4 years of high-intensity conflict is starting to manifest in a nationwide mental health crisis.
Globally, the narrative is split. In Washington and Brussels, the Ukraine fatigue we heard about in 2024 has evolved into a cold strategic calculation. Support is no longer about winning in a traditional sense, but about maintaining a strategic stalemate that prevents Russian expansion. 32 NATO members now have multi-year security guarantees with Kiev, ensuring a steady stream of F-35 parts and long-range missile tech through 2030. The truth is that the West has accepted this as a decade-long commitment. The The public interest may have waned in news cycles, but the institutional commitment has actually deepened and become more bureaucratic, making it harder to roll back even with changes in political leadership across the Atlantic.
As we look at the remainder of 2026, the question of peace is more complex than ever. There are no active peace talks, but back-channel diplomacy has focused on a potential Korean-style armistice. The truth is that neither side has the offensive mass to achieve a total military victory, yet neither side can afford the political cost of a formal territorial concession. We are seeing the emergence of a gray zone, a 50-mile-wide de facto demilitarized strip where no one lives and only machines fight. This isn't a peace, it's a suspension of active conquest. Experts suggest this frozen state could persist for the next decade, turning the border into the most surveilled and automated frontier in human history.
So, what is the truth about Ukraine in 2026? It is a nation that has been forged in fire and has come out the other side as a high-tech, militarized, and deeply resilient European power. The war hasn't ended, but it has changed. It is now a contest of industrial endurance and technological innovation. Ukraine's survival is no longer in doubt, but the price of that survival is a permanent state of readiness. As we watch the headlines, remember that the maps may not move much this year, but the underlying structure of global security has changed forever. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the reality of the 2026 conflict. Stay informed and stay objective.